My girlfriend cheated on me in my own apartment, while I was hiding in the closet. Yeah, I know. Sounds like the start of a trashy reality show or one of those late-night Reddit confession threads. I wish it was. I really, really do. Let me rewind a bit. It was supposed to be a regular Thursday morning. I had a flight to San Diego for a 3-day developer conference. The kind with free swag, lots of awkward small talk, and endless panels about machine learning trends. Not exactly thrilling, but a good break from my desk and a chance to network. I'd packed the night before, triple-checked my boarding pass, and even made sure Grace had fresh almond milk in the fridge, since she always forgets to buy it herself. I was trying to be the thoughtful boyfriend, the stable, dependable guy. At 6:40 a.m. I got the first text from the airline. Your flight has been delayed. Then another at 7:15, canceled due to aircraft maintenance. By 8, I was sitting on a bench outside the airport, sipping bad coffee and wondering what to do with my now empty day. That's when I had the idea. Go home. Surprise her. Pick up one of those cinnamon rolls from that bakery she loved, the ones with the absurd amount of icing. And a caramel latte, no whip, extra shot. She always got this cute little smile when she took the first sip, like the world had finally aligned. I even felt a little excited, like I was about to get brownie points or something. It was 10:27 a.m. when I opened the door to our apartment. The moment I stepped inside, something felt off. It wasn't anything huge at first, just a vibe. Grace's red heels were on the living room floor. Weird. She never left them there. She was annoyingly neat about shoes. A man's leather jacket was thrown over the back of our dining chair. Not mine. Way too flashy. Expensive looking. Cologne clung to the air, faint but sharp. My heart didn't start racing right away. I'm not the paranoid type. I figured maybe her brother stopped by, or one of her PR clients. But I didn't hear any typing, no phone calls, no TV. Then I heard it. Voices. Soft. Muffled. From the bedroom. I didn't think. I acted. I crept toward the hallway, and without really meaning to, I opened the closet door, the big sliding one just across from the bed, and stepped inside. Like I was 10 years old again. Hiding from my parents when I broke their antique lamp. Ridiculous. But my body moved faster than my brain. The door clicked shut behind me, and I crouched in the dark, pressed between hanging jackets and shoeboxes. Seconds passed. Then I heard her laugh. Her laugh. Grace's laugh. That bubbly, breathy kind she only used when she was really into a conversation, or someone. I told you, she giggled. He's at some tech thing in San Diego. He won't be back until Saturday. My blood ran cold. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. Another voice. Male. Smooth. A little smug. Still feels risky. What if he left something? Walks in. Josh. She said, like the idea was absurd. Please. He's the most predictable guy I've ever dated. Sweet but boring. You're safe. I felt like I was falling. Like the floor had dropped beneath me, and I was floating in zero gravity, stuck between disbelief and something much, much darker. I heard them kiss. The sound made my stomach twist. She moaned softly. The bed creaked. I pressed my forehead against my knees. I wanted to scream, burst out, break something. But instead, I sat there, frozen, gripping the edge of a shelf with white knuckles while they made out, maybe more I couldn't tell, I didn't want to know, just a few feet away from me. In our bed. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe her. Grace. The woman who called me her rock. Who texted me every time she had a bad day. Who made me playlists called Coding Fuel and decorated our place with string lights and Polaroids. Grace, who was now giggling in bed with another man and talking about how boring I was. Time stopped making sense. It could have been 10 minutes or an hour. My legs went numb. I felt like I was watching someone else's life, someone pathetic, a background character. Eventually, I heard them get up. She said something about needing a shower. I took that chance, heart slamming in my chest, and eased the closet door open. I didn't look at the bed. I couldn't. I crept through the living room, past the jacket, past her shoes, cinnamon roll still in the paper bag, coffee long cold. I left the apartment and didn't look back. I didn't mean to stay. When I slipped into the closet, it was supposed to be for a few seconds. A place to hide, catch my breath, figure out how to confront whoever was in my apartment. But I stayed. Because the moment I heard her voice, that voice, say he thinks I'm still at work, something inside me froze. She laughed. He laughed. The sound of two people sharing a secret. Sharing me as a secret. My knees were crammed to my chest, pressed up against an old winter coat I hadn't worn in a year. The scent of lavender from a sachet hanging on the inside wall was nauseating now, mixing with my sweat and panic. The wood creaked every time I shifted an inch. So I didn't. God, this place is cute, the guy said. His voice was closer now. Maybe by the bed. You said he decorated it. Mostly, yeah, Grace said with a giggle. He has this whole minimalist thing going, very serious about clean lines and cable management. It's like dating a tech magazine. They both laughed again. I squeezed my eyes shut, hoping it would block out the words. Where is he now, again? Some geek conference in San Diego, she said, her voice dripping with dismissal. He won't be back until Saturday night. He's the kind of guy who plans flights 2 weeks out, never misses a detail. Predictable as hell. She popped the cork on something. I heard it, loud and casual. Wine. She kept a bottle of red in the cabinet for special occasions. Apparently, this qualified. Predictable is safe, the guy said. But I can't imagine it's fun. Grace made a sound. A small, breathy, He's sweet, don't get me wrong. But sometimes I feel like I'm dating a user manual. I wanted to disappear, evaporate, be anywhere but here, crouched in the dark, sweating, breathing shallow, listening to the woman I love tear me down for a stranger's amusement. He's just... She trailed off for a moment, and I could almost picture her swirling the wine in the glass the way she always did. He's not a man, you know? Silence. Then, you need a man? God, yes. That did it. That snapped something in me. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. But I felt the snap, a sharp internal break, like ice cracking underfoot. The bed creaked. The sound of glasses being set down. Then kissing. Long, wet, close, awkward in that way people are when they've done this before, but not too many times. The kind of intimacy that still feels risky, fresh, dangerous. Fabric rustled. Her laugh was muffled now. Then a low moan. I felt like a ghost in my own life. I couldn't move. Couldn't even process it in real time. My mind was racing but also strangely quiet. Detached, like I was watching it happen to someone else. Some idiot who thought bringing cinnamon rolls home was romantic instead of tragic. More bed sounds. More laughing. A sharp gasp, then a giggle. My heart was hammering so hard I thought they might hear it. I stared at the slats in the closet door, thin strips of light bleeding through, and focused on breathing slowly, shallowly. I didn't want them to hear me. I didn't want them to know. It wasn't about pride. It was something else. Something uglier. I think part of me needed to hear it all. Needed to know. To feel every word she said, every breath she took, every lie between them. I wanted the truth, raw and unfiltered, so I wouldn't second guess it later, so no one could gaslight me out of it. And the worst part? Some part of me still loved her. Even as she broke me in real time. God, this shirt smells like him, she said with a laugh. That made me blink. What? The guy asked. This old t-shirt, she said. I think he wore it to bed last night. A pause. It's soft though. Maybe I should start dressing like a nerd, the guy teased. She laughed again, light and careless. And then there was silence. Heavy, rhythmic. The kind of silence filled with movement. I stared at the floor of the closet. At my own shoes, lined up neatly on the rack. My laptop bag still tucked under the bottom shelf. Everything in its place. Except me. My nose was filled with the sharp scent of cedar and lavender, but I felt cold. Like I was buried in snow. Time stopped meaning anything. I don't know how long I sat there, breathing through my mouth, fists clenched so tight I left nail marks in my palms. They whispered now and then, but I couldn't make out the words. I didn't want to. Eventually, I heard the rustling of sheets, her footsteps. The door to the bathroom opened. The shower turned on. I sat there, paralyzed, listening to her hum my playlist as she stepped into the water with him still in my bed. And then, finally, the guy spoke again. His voice softer now, but close, right by the closet. You think he suspects anything? Grace laughed from the bathroom. Josh, please. He trusts me completely. And that, weirdly, was the most painful part. She was right. I didn't mean to stay that long. But I did. I sat there, knees to chest, arms wrapped tight around my legs, in that cramped closet for over an hour. Maybe more. I stopped checking the time. My phone had slipped from my hoodie pocket, wedged itself between an old pair of sneakers and a box labeled winter scarves. I didn't reach for it. All I could do was listen. At first, I wanted to burst out, to rip the door open, scream, demand to know what the hell she was doing, in my bed, in our apartment with that man. But then a different voice kicked in. The one that's always quieter. The one I've spent my life listening to when everything else gets too loud. No. Don't move. You need to hear it. You need to know. And that voice was right. So I stayed. Still. Silent. Sweating. They stayed in bed for a while, talking like lovers do after they've broken the rules and feel giddy about it. They weren't even trying to be quiet anymore. Not really. Grace laughed. The high, unfiltered kind. The kind she used to save for me. He's probably at some tech thing, she said between giggles, coding his feelings away like a good little introvert. The guy, still no name, chuckled. You really don't feel bad? Not really, she said with a shrug I could hear. I mean, I tried, I really did. He's just so vanilla, so steady. Everything's always logical, thought out. He folds his socks for God's sake. That's unforgivable, the guy joked. She laughed again. Exactly. He thinks romance is showing up with a coffee and a cinnamon bun. I stared down at the brown paper bag still lying beside me in the closet. The bun had probably gone cold by now. The sound of them getting up snapped me back. The mattress groaned. Feet hit the floor. Then the bathroom door opened, and the shower started running. I knew I had minutes. Adrenaline surged. My muscles screamed as I uncurled from the cramped position I'd been in, every joint aching like I'd aged 50 years in an hour. Quietly, slowly, I pushed open the closet door. Just a few inches. Just enough to see the room. His jeans were slung over the back of my desk chair. My t-shirt still on the bed, under her head. The scent of them, sex, soap, her shampoo, filled the space. It hit me like a punch. I didn't look at the bathroom door. I couldn't. Instead I crept toward the hallway. Barefoot, deliberate, careful to avoid the squeaky board near the dresser. Every step was a calculation. Every breath measured. I grabbed my keys from the bowl by the door. My wallet was in my back pocket. Thank God. I didn't even put on shoes. I just opened the door and slipped out, closing it behind me with the quietest click I could manage. And then, I ran. Down the hall. Past the elevator. Down the stairs, barefoot on cold concrete. My heart pounding harder than it had in years. Outside the city felt unreal. Too bright. Too busy. Too normal. I flagged the first taxi I saw. Where to? The driver asked. I didn't think. Downtown. Closest hotel with a room. He raised an eyebrow but nodded. You got it. I leaned my head against the window and finally let out a long, shaky breath. I didn't check my phone. I didn't answer texts. I didn't go back. I got a room at some anonymous business hotel with beige curtains and terrible lighting, dropped my keys on the desk, and lay down on the bed without taking off my hoodie. My legs were still shaking. My hands wouldn't stop clenching and unclenching. And all I could think about was 2 years ago, when this all started. She had moved in on a rainy Thursday afternoon. We were still in the honeymoon phase, making pancakes on Sundays, fighting over Spotify playlists, laughing about our quirks. I thought it was love. Real love. Messy, awkward, ridiculous love. She'd brought 3 suitcases and a lot of energy. Let's make this place ours, she'd said. And I wanted that. I really did. We spent the first weekend painting the bedroom. She wanted warm gray, whatever the hell that was. We argued for 45 minutes in Home Depot about whether Stone Whisper or Urban Dove was more neutral. She won, obviously. But it was fun. We came home, put on old clothes, got paint in each other's hair, and laughed when she smeared it across my nose like a rom. Com cliché. I remember standing in that room, half finished, with her by my side, and thinking, this is it. This is how forever starts. Now? Now another man was in that same room. In our bed. Beneath those warm gray walls we picked together. I closed my eyes and tried not to picture it. But I did. Her hair spread across the pillow we bought at Target. His hands on her waist, the same way mine had been 1,000 times before. Her laugh echoing in the room that used to be filled with our quiet, content silence. I wasn't angry yet. That would come later. For now, I just felt erased, like I'd been edited out of my own story. Like someone had taken a Sharpie and crossed out everything I thought was real. She didn't even hesitate. Not once. I lay there until the sun started to set, casting pale light across the cheap hotel bedspread. I didn't move. Didn't cry. Just stared. When my phone buzzed from the floor, I didn't look. I already knew it was her. And I wasn't ready. Not yet. I didn't go back the next day, or the day after that. I needed time, not to process, not to forgive, but to detach, to build the version of myself that could walk through that apartment and not feel gutted, that could see the bed, the couch, the kitchen counters and not instantly hear the echo of her voice, or worse, his. On the third morning, I checked out of the hotel, got in an Uber, and headed home. But it wasn't home anymore. Not really. I walked up the stairs with a calmness I didn't expect. Maybe it was the cold clarity of betrayal. Maybe it was just shock that hadn't fully worn off. Either way, my hands were steady as I slid the old key into the lock for the last time. I stepped inside. The apartment smelled the same. A faint trace of her lavender diffuser still hung in the air, mixed with the citrus cleaner we both hated but always bought on sale. I closed the door behind me and locked it. Then, I got to work. The locksmith arrived exactly 15 minutes later. "Want all the locks changed?" he asked. "Every single one," I said. "Front door, back balcony, mailbox, storage unit. All of it." He looked at me with a slight raise of his eyebrows, like he wanted to ask if I'd been robbed or dumped. But he didn't. Just nodded and got started. While he worked, I walked through the apartment, methodically collecting everything that was mine. My headphones, chargers, monitor, hard drives, the backup NAS, the tools, the camera gear, the boxes of cables. Grace always called your tech junk. Every item had a story. And every story now had an ending. I moved from room to room. The desk where we built IKEA furniture together, the couch where she used to nap on my chest, and gathered my life back into boxes. By the time the locksmith was done, I'd already packed most of what I needed. He handed me the new keys. "You'll sleep better tonight," he said. "I won't be sleeping here," I replied. Everything in the apartment, the rent, the Wi-Fi, the utilities, even the Netflix, was under my name. I'd handled it all. The responsible one. The planner. The guy who paid the bills on time while she forgot which day the trash went out. I spent the next hour closing doors. I logged into our streaming services and revoked her access. Netflix? Gone. Amazon? Deactivated. Spotify? I deleted the shared playlist, Sunday Mornings with Grace. That name made me laugh, bitter, and quiet. I changed the Wi-Fi password. Canceled her profile on the renter's insurance. Called the leasing company and asked them to remove her as a CO resident. She'd never signed anything official anyway, just moved in with a suitcase and a smile. She was never really tied to this place the way I was. Finally I walked into the bedroom, the one with the warm gray walls we'd painted together. I made the bed. Not for her. Not for me. Just for the finality of it. Then I took a sticky note from my drawer, wrote 7 words in ink, and left it on her pillow. "Don't worry. I'm not mad. I'm done." Nothing dramatic. Nothing cruel. Just truth. I left with 3 boxes, my duffel, and a laptop bag slung over my shoulder. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. I caught another Uber and drove to a friend's place across town, someone who knew enough to offer a couch and not ask questions. Later that evening my phone started buzzing. Her name lit up the screen. First once. Then again. Then again. I didn't pick up. Then came the texts. "Grace, what's going on?" 10 minutes later. "Grace, are you kidding me? Did you seriously lock me out? Where are you?" Then, "Grace, can we talk, please? This is crazy." I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I turned the phone over and left it face down on the table. She'd made a mistake. Not just a one-night lapse. Not a misstep. Not something we could chalk up to. We were struggling, or it didn't mean anything. This wasn't a mistake of the heart. It was a choice. A cold, repeated, calculated one. And now? She got to live with it. The messages didn't stop. They came like a flood. First texts, then voicemails. A few were long, panicked paragraphs, the kind you type in a frenzy without reading back. Others were terrifyingly short. "Please. Josh, just talk to me. I'm outside." She showed up at my office on the 3rd day. My coworker Brianna poked her head into my cubicle, eyebrows lifted. There's someone asking for you in the lobby. Says it's personal." My stomach sank. I didn't even have to ask who. "Tell her I'm not available," I said without looking up. She paused. You okay? I will be, I said. After a few more minutes pretending to finish a project, I slipped out through the service stairwell, cut around the back of the building, and ducked into a coffee shop 3 blocks away. Once inside, I finally messaged Marcus. Josh, you still got space in your trunk? His reply was instant. Marcus, for you? Always. Want me to bring bourbon or baseball bats? I smiled for the first time in days. That night we drove back to the apartment. She wasn't there. I'd made sure of it. Her car wasn't in the lot, and the lights were off. We moved fast. There wasn't much left. A few boxes of things I'd stashed in the hall closet. Backup tools in storage. Marcus didn't ask questions. He just worked beside me in silence, the way real friends do when words would only cheapen the moment. When we finished, I handed him my keys. Drop them off with the leasing office for me? I asked. You sure you're done? He said. I nodded. More than done. Grace kept trying. Her calls went from angry to desperate to guilt-ridden. One voicemail played while I was brushing my teeth, the speakerphone echoing off the bathroom walls. Josh, this isn't what you think. I swear to God he meant nothing. It was a mistake, a stupid, meaningless one-time thing. Can't we just talk? I stopped the recording and stared at my own reflection. I almost laughed. A one-time thing? I could still hear the second glass of wine being poured. Still hear the laughter. The whispers. The bed creaking. Meaningless? No. What it was vivid, and real, and permanent. Eventually, I agreed to meet her. Not to reconcile. Not to understand her side. I didn't need clarity. I just needed to say it. We met in a public park. Neutral ground. Safe. She was already there when I arrived, pacing by the benches like she'd run through 10 different monologues in her head and none of them were landing. When she saw me, she froze. Josh, she said, breathless. Thank God. I didn't think you'd come. I stood a few feet away and crossed my arms. Talk, she swallowed. Hard. Look, I know how this looks, she started. But you have to believe me, I never wanted to hurt you. It was a stupid night. I was feeling lost. You've been so distant lately, so busy with work, with your projects. I felt like you weren't seeing me anymore. I waited. Her hands trembled as she reached toward me, but I didn't move. And yeah, I messed up. I messed up badly. But I didn't expect you to just erase me like that. The locks, the streaming services? Her voice cracked. The playlist, Josh? I blinked. You think the Spotify playlist is the worst part of this? She opened her mouth to speak, but I cut her off. I was in the closet, Grace. Silence. I was. In. The. Closet. I repeated slowly, each word deliberate. She blinked. The entire time, I said. I heard every word, every laugh, every groan, every stupid insult. Her face went pale. Then, ash gray. You said I was technical but boring. I said, that I wasn't a man. That I was predictable. That I probably code my feelings away. Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't stop. I heard you say that he made you feel alive. That I was safe but dull. Her lips trembled. Josh, I didn't know. I didn't know you were there. That's the part that gets me, I said. You didn't know. Because you didn't care who might be there. You didn't care who you were destroying. You thought I was just some ghost in the background, some placeholder. She stepped closer. Please, just let me explain. Let me fix this. I took a step back. I don't need an explanation, I said. I needed a partner. And you made it crystal clear you never wanted to be one. Her breath hitched. You're really done? I nodded. I'm not angry, Grace. I'm just finished. And with that, I turned and walked away. She didn't follow. That night, I sat in my temporary room, opened my laptop, and started a blank playlist. No title. No shared access. Just me. And it sounded better than anything we ever built together. It had been a month. 30 quiet, strange, healing days. I'd moved into a short-term rental with beige walls and creaky floors, but I liked it. It smelled like clean laundry and hardwood. No scent of her perfume. No echoes of that night. I got up early, started running again. Reconnected with old friends. Even said yes when coworkers invited me out for drinks instead of using work as an excuse. I laughed. Not the polite kind, but the real belly-shaking kind I'd almost forgotten was possible. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was holding my breath. One Saturday morning, I was at the farmer's market, holding an overpriced smoothie, when someone tapped my shoulder. "Josh." I turned. It was Liv, a friend of a friend, someone I hadn't seen since a New Year's Eve party maybe 2 years ago. "Hey," I said, smiling. "Wow, it's been a minute." We caught up for a few minutes, small talk, mutual friends. How no one knows what day of the week it is anymore. Then she tilted her head slightly. "So, I heard about what happened with Grace." I tensed for a second, then nodded. "Yeah. It's been a journey." "She really messed up," Liv said bluntly. That caught me off guard. I raised an eyebrow. "You know what's wild?" She went on. The one she cheated with? He had a girlfriend." My stomach dropped just a little. "What?" "Yeah. She found out a couple weeks ago. Public meltdown. Screaming in the parking lot of their building. Full soap opera. Apparently he lied to both of them." I blinked. "She dumped him, moved out. He's been crashing on a friend's couch. And Grace? Last I heard she's hunting for a new place too. Her name wasn't on your lease, right?" "Nope," I said. Liv gave a satisfied nod. "Good. Some people just have to learn the hard way." We chatted a little longer, then parted ways with a warm hug. As I walked away, smoothie in hand, a quiet thought surfaced in my mind. Karma doesn't always knock. Sometimes it kicks the door in. Later that week I came home from a jog, still sweating through my shirt, and kicked off my shoes by the door. The apartment was quiet. The good kind of quiet. Peaceful. I grabbed a water bottle and headed for the shower, but something made me pause by the hallway closet. I hadn't opened it in days. Maybe weeks. Inside, tucked behind a stack of board games and an unopened yoga mat I'd never used, was a small cardboard box. No label. Just taped shut. Curious, I pulled it down and opened it on the floor. Photos. Old ones. Us. Smiling at some cheesy vineyard tour. Holding hands on a hiking trail. Her in a floppy hat I used to tease her about. Me with the beard she once begged me to shave. And one from the day we painted the bedroom. We'd argued over the shade of gray. She wanted warm. I wanted cool. We compromised, which meant we picked hers. We'd laughed a lot that day, accidentally spilled paint on the dog bed, and ate takeout on the floor with sore arms and happy faces. I held the photo in my hands and stared at it for a long time. So much had changed. So much had broken. And yet, "You broke me," I said quietly to the empty room. "But you also freed me." There was no venom in the words. Just truth. I set the photo aside, picked up the box and carried it out with the recycling. No ceremony. No rage. Just release. That evening, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, adjusting my shirt collar. Not too formal, not too casual. Clean sneakers, fresh shave. The nerve surprised me, like I was 16 again. Her name was Danny. We met at a local art night, both of us terrible at pottery, but good at sarcasm. She liked iced coffee in winter, listened to jazz and punk, and laughed with her whole face. She hadn't asked too many questions, just smiled when I said, "I've been through some things." She got it. We were meeting at a cafe downtown. No expectations. Just two people, showing up. As I locked the apartment behind me and stepped out into the evening light, I realized I wasn't thinking about Grace anymore. Not really. Not in that sharp, aching way. She had been a chapter. But not the whole book. And as I walked toward someone new, the air felt just a little lighter. Maybe even hopeful.